Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Our Point of View.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hello.
I'm
Good.
glad
Hello,
you
hello.
with
Good
us.
evening.
And we're going to introduce our hosts. First, we have Captain Jackson.
What's happening, good people?
Then we have
What's up,
Jen.
Cap?
What's happening? What's a good word?
Good evening, folks. I just have to take a moment. Y'all already know what's coming. I just have to take a moment to say happy 108th Founders Day to all my divas of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, founded on January 13, 1913, on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. And that's on what? Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Okay.
Oh, and we have Derek Jackson, our state representative of District 64. How are you, Derek?
I'm doing fine. Doing fine. All is well, Jacqueline.
Good.
Hey,
Kissy,
DJ.
What's going on?
you have a good day today?
It was a beautiful day.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood?
Nothing like doing work for the people.
Work for the people. That's right. That's
All right now.
right.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about the Constitution, our criminal justice system. But we're going to start with the Constitution. Let's talk about Eric. Let's pick one of the amendments and which one you want to talk about.
Let me see. How about if we talk about the 25th Amendment?
Okay.
And I will say this before I start, that the Constitution and the amendments, they're extremely important because they are really, it's the foundation of what helps to shape our country. And never in the time period before have we needed really to get a full understanding of those right now. And you wish it was just one of those things that they taught a little bit more in school,
Right.
because not a lot of people are aware of them. And the amendment that I am looking to go into, the 25th Amendment, certainly will give insight and context to the discussion we're having tonight. Again, that said, the 25th Amendment deals with the presidential vacancy, or who should fulfill the office of the presidency. Again, if it's due to just a vacancy or if it's due to a disability. And I'm just going to read section 1. There's 3 sections, and the third section is the longest. But I'm just going to read the first section so I won't take up too much time. But it says, in the case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. So there's a line of succession and that is in place in the event that something should happen to the president, something should happen to the vice president, something should happen to the Speaker of the House. So there's a framework that's in place that's designed to fulfill that vacancy, so that there isn't a vacancy, so that there is someone at the top, someone that is helping to make the decisions that again help to shape this country. Yay!
That sounds good. Sounds good.
It's you almost have to let that sink in a little bit. Like I said, there's more sections. There's 2 other sections that are in there, and they go a little bit more in depth. It gets more into the circumstances, if it is a disability, and the calls or the notifications rather that have to be made, and again the line of succession and the whole entire process, because it does involve Congress and it does involve votes and so forth. It is a process. It isn't just as easy as it may necessarily read.
So is that basically Go ahead, Jennifer.
Eric. So Eric, why do you think it is that Pence has not invoked that yet, or that he's so hesitant to do so?
Because he's in quite a quagmire, because he realizes that there was a great injustice there was a great crime, if you will. And there are various things that people are calling that, but knowing that that took place, that was all the way wrong. It was as wrong as yesterday wrong. However, I think he's still struggling and grappling with the relationship with he and the president, be it, they said, oh, well, the president didn't call and check on him and his family, excuse me, during the insurrection, and
Mhm.
there hadn't been a lot of communication, but he's still not willing to do the proverbial pulling of the trigger, if you will, to say, hey, look, what he did was certainly wrong, it was against the country, in enough voice to go ahead and to institute the 25th Amendment, which is where we are now, having to do which is where we are now, having to do the impeachment, which, by the way, is been pushed through. So, and I know Brother Jack is going to talk about it probably with some more context, but only the second president. Well, no one. That's never been done before. So we're walking in the pathway of precedence once again.
Okay, so Derek, can we compare the 25th Amendment with the 14th Amendment as far as when it comes to impeaching a president? Can you tell us what the similarities are, what the differences are? Why can't we use the 14th as opposed to the 25th?
So, and that's a great question. First off, for our audience, before anybody starts yawning when we talk about the Constitution, and I'm happy that Eric started off with the 25th because it's in the conversation today, right? And I think the more we know about our rights as the foundation, which is the Constitution, the more we know about the Constitution, I think the better we are. And so the reason why you really can't do a compare and contrast between the 14th and the 25th is because it depends on different scenarios. As Eric has already outlined, the 25th really deals with a mental and physical incapacity, right? And it requires for the vice president and the cabinet to vote on it. So what's the likelihood of that happening, right? Probably slim to none. But when you look at the 14th Amendment, which is very, very different, the question now becomes, what do we need to do in terms of Congress, the House and the Senate, and what powers do they have? And so when you start to try to exercise responsibility and accountability, that's when they have to look at the articles. What do they have available? What amendment can they exercise? And because in the end, we're setting a precedent, right? Let this be known, as Jennifer just started off with the acknowledgement of the history of her sorority being around for 108 years, right? This too is recorded in history, right? There's never been a president to be impeached twice.
But if they removed them the first time, then we wouldn't be going through it a second time.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But because they did not remove him, see, because if they were to remove him, because he would have been impeached once, he would have had the opportunity to run for office again. But now that he has been impeached twice, he no longer have an opportunity to run for president ever. It's like a permanent ban, right? And so this is historic. You have presidential historians right now that are scrambling to put all this into context, because 100 years from now, all although we may not be around, if this will ever occur again, it will be recorded. And so a lot of things that we do today is setting a new precedent by any stretch of the imagination. And that's why it's important that the Speaker of the House, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, and others are making sure that they look at all the tools that are available so they do not jeopardize recording this precedence today that very well could be dealt with in the future.
Okay, so Derek, he only has a few days left as president of the United States. So why is it that it's important for them to go through with the impeachment? What's the importance of it? What is it that they're trying to do?
Well, I think, let's, and that's an excellent question, Jacqueline. I mean, let's call it what it is. President Trump incited this insurrection, right? He purposely tweeted, he purposely went down there hours before they stormed the United States Capitol and encouraged thousands of citizens to go down Pennsylvania Avenue, storm into the United States Capitol to disrupt, if you will, the electoral ceremonial process. The Electoral College was already certified last month by all 50 states. So this was simply, January 6th was a ceremonial process for that's overseen by the vice president. And so the president knew the vice president, all members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate, were present. And you send a mob down to the workplace. Now, keep in mind, we believe that there was more to it than just what President Trump stated on that morning of January 6th. Here's the reason why. Because they came there with zip ties.
Guns.
They came there with bombs. They came there with heavy, spears, pipes, different types of weapons. So what was their intent?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't planning on being peaceful. And then Trump said he was going to go down there with them. And he was nowhere to be found.
So he stayed in the comforts of the White House while this was all going down for 6 hours. 6 hours. These individuals, these American citizens, went into the United States Capitol. Some defecated. They took items that did not belong to them. So they did more than just trespass. They did more than just a breach of security. It was incredulous what they did. This is treasonous. And that's the reason why the military Joint Chiefs of Staff came out with a strong statement. Members of the military came out with a strong statement. This would not be tolerated. It was illegal. And so people got to be held accountable, starting with the one on the top. And that's the reason why this second impeachment, to answer your question, Jacqueline, they had to go through with this process. They had to, because you don't want for an insurrection to take place, to overthrow the government, and nobody being held accountable, including with the one with the largest microphone in the world.
So once they go through the impeachment and he's impeached, what is it that it's going to do? What is it going to take away from him?
So again, he can't run for the highest office in the land again. Pension, right? There's an immediate pension, so it's going to impact that. Security, right? All living presidents get security. They have a budget, It may even impact, him not getting a presidential library, which is all being paid for by, taxpayers. So, so there are, and then there's an asterisk by his name, 2 asterisks by his name. And so, some people already, listen, the internet is undefeated, y'all. The internet is undefeated. Some of the things, Eric, that I'm seeing, I'm seeing.
Incredible.
Yeah, it really is. So you don't break the law. You don't try to overthrow the government and not expect to be held accountable.
Speaking of that, what's interesting to me is the fact that so many of these people made their way to Washington, D.C. with the intention of causing, disruption and chaos and all of this, and really thought that they were going to go back home via airplane through the airport, and nothing was going to happen. So if you've been paying attention to the news, or if you're on Twitter, Instagram, any of that, you may have noticed a new hashtag called No-Fly List. Well, this hashtag is being used on videos of people who are being arrested in the airport, once they've been identified as having participated in the events at the Capitol. And it's quite interesting. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And it's crazy.
What's it
really
called
is.
again?
The hashtag is No-Fly List. Basically, people who participated in the Capitol riot, they are being removed from their flights or, arrested when they return home. And either the airline or the feds are putting them on a no-fly list. So I don't know which entity is doing that, whether it's just the airline or whether it's the actual government that's doing it. I'm not really sure, but they basically are being taken off of these flights in handcuffs.
And what I saw today too is that the government is in high gear in investigating this. I mean, they've about already come to the conclusion that this was a planned event.
Yeah, it was planned. It was organized.
And there were cameras everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere.
And here's the beautiful thing. Like, some people feel like because they wore a mask or something that, covers them up completely, nobody can know their identity. But I saw a video online that made an excellent point about how if you even set foot in that Capitol with an electronic device, they know you were there because of the type of, wiring or whatever it is that they have there, whether it's the Bluetooth on your phone, the GPS on your phone, whatever it is, it was able to pinpoint the fact that you were inside of that location. And now they, are able to find you like that. So for everyone who wore a mask, who covered up their face, they're coming.
But a lot of them didn't wear masks.
Right.
And that's completely idiotic, because obviously you wouldn't want anyone to know that you were participating in something like this. But I mean, their mindset in this day and age, who knows what they were thinking? Because obviously they felt like, one word, privilege. And I'm just gonna go.
Well, I think you're raising some excellent points, Jennifer, because when you think about the sophisticated security system that's at the United States Capitol, because they have a significant budget, right? Nearly $500 million. And that's in both hardware, software, and personnel staff. Because that building, there's a lot of history with that building. That building is a symbol of democracy. And so, yes, the ATF, FBI, Homeland Security, Secret Service, et cetera, they all is going to have access. They're all investigating. They're all, because you have members of Congress, their lives were at stake, right? And so we cannot take this lightly. The intent of this mob, these insurrectionists, was to overthrow the government, to disrupt an electoral college process, all because their candidate did not win the presidency, right? And so I'm no lawyer, but the evidence is very clear. But to go back to another point, Jacqueline, and I think our audience, you know, right now everybody's trying to compare and contrast. Well, what if they were black? You know, because they didn't, you know, because the Black Lives Matter, right? I think this goes beyond comparison, right? You have to look at the United States Constitution, and that Constitution is designed for all Americans, right? And so when you look at the 7 articles and the 27 amendments, going back to what Eric was sharing, one of them amendments, but this was all designed to create a society for all citizens, right? And my part that I wanted to talk to as it relates to the Constitution tonight is the preamble, because we tend to just gloss over that. I know Kamala Harris, when she kicked off her presidential campaign, you know, she started off, "We the people," and we typically just stop right there, "We the people." But in my part that I want to share with our point of view audience is the preamble, and really read the preamble. It says, "We the people of these United States." That means everyone, white, black, Republican, Democrat, independent, liberal, conservative. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now, why is that important to our audience? Because as an elected official, when I raise my right hand and put my left hand on a Bible, we're saying that we're going to take the responsibility and hold us accountable to the United States Constitution, not to a person, because we're not a monarch, right? We have no kings or queens in the United States, right? And so it is important, if we expect for our citizens to abide by the Constitution, for our elected officials to give an oath, our police officers to give an oath, military members to give an oath, right, to the Constitution, to preserve and protect a democracy. So what happened on last Wednesday, on January 6th, in 2021, those insurrectionists and those elected officials, starting with the president and those hundreds of plus Republicans and those 12 or 13 Republican senators, they violated their oath of office. It is a dereliction of duty to try to overthrow the government, and predicated on a lie to say that the election was fraud, when over 60 judges, federal judges, Republican federal judges, said that the Trump administration had absolutely zero evidence that any fraud took place.
Right.
And so all this was predicated on a lie that ended up on an insurrection to overthrow a government on a lie. They went against the Constitution, the very Constitution that you raise your hand and give the oath to. And so there are some members that were part of this group on last Wednesday were police officers.
Police officers, yeah, off-duty police officers.
military members.
Mhm.
Firefighters.
And get this, Jennifer, some flew in a private jet. So these individuals were very equipped, very rich, and they came with the intent with zip ties, bombs, weapons to overthrow the government.
Right.
So they went against the very principles and the bedrock of our society. They went against the Constitution.
Right, right. Well, I'm going to take a second. We're going to introduce our special guest host who just joined us, Mr. Al Allen. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're fine. Better late than never. Glad you could join us. We're, as you
Yeah.
know, about the Constitution.
Can I
Talking
share
about-
with
Hey, Mr.
everybody,
Al.
was it my fault that I was late?
Is it your fault that you?
No, I said, can I share with everybody, was it my fault that I was late? Never mind.
Oh, no.
Whose fault was it?
All right, well, now what were you saying?
No, we're talking about the Constitution. And Al, you're a police officer as
Yes,
well as an educator.
yes,
So you got it on both sides. So you know about the Constitution from the educator side, as well as the law enforcement side. So we're talking about the 25th Amendment as far as
Mhm.
what's going on, what went on at the Capitol and what's going on, the procedure that they're having now as far as impeachment for the president. So you have any comments?
yeah, well, did he get in? I haven't watched the news all day. Did he get impeached?
Yes,
Yeah.
He
Yes.
did. They reached the
He
number
did.
of votes,
Oh,
yes.
but
In
I
fact,
think,
10 Republican House of Representatives joined the Democrats.
oh, really?
So this impeachment, this second impeachment is far different than the first impeachment. This was truly a bipartisan impeachment. So he's the only
collective effort.
right,
Well-
right.
So doesn't it have to go a next step though, to the Supreme Court or something like that? I mean, help me out.
No, to the Senate. So
The Senate.
So, and I'm glad you raised that question, Alan, because the House of Representatives in the United States, they're the ones that go through a due process, look at all the evidence, all the articles. They're the ones that draw up the impeachment. The Senate, their job is to determine if that impeachment was worthy or not for the president to be removed. So Bill Clinton was impeached. He has an
Right.
asterisk by his name.
Right.
But the Senate looked at that impeachment of Bill Clinton and said it wasn't worthy enough to be removed. Donald Trump, the same thing. He went through that process the first time, got impeached, went over to the Senate, and they said Mitch McConnell and others said the impeachment wasn't worthy enough for him to be removed, which is the reason why he remained the president. So this impeachment, the second impeachment, is the same process. They're gonna go. They already sent it over to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell said, "Well, we're going to just wait till after the inauguration to start the hearings of the second impeachment, which he'll already be removed by that time."
Mhm. Appreciate you explaining the process to me. You know, I don't know if I have much to say about the actual 25th Amendment. My observation of what occurred in my thought process is that I just wasn't surprised. You know, it's just another eye opener to basically show America where we stand in this society, especially when you look at what occurred all last summer with the Black Lives Matter movement, as opposed to what happened earlier this week. It was a difference like day and night. And for those who can't see it or just refuse to see it, it speaks volumes to your character. You know what I'm saying? So I was more sad to see that they were able to pull off what they pulled off. I think something tells me deep down within it was somewhat staged. How the police opened the barricades and just kind of let them on through.
Right.
It was like a show. There were selfies taken. It was video camera recording. It was just a lot going on. It seemed like it was almost staged, and I may be wrong. And you know, it even did Bart Simpson, the Simpson show. They predicted it again. I don't know if you all are familiar with that. The show came out in 1996 saying that there was going to be a riot at the Capitol when presidents switched power. Now, I'm not really a big conspiracy theorist, but The Simpsons just on point too much for some reason.
Right.
And it just makes you think, like, how are they knowing this back in 1996? Just like when the episode came out 20 years ago, no, it was maybe 16 years ago, when Trump was going to run president. The Simpsons aired that show, and they aired him running against Hillary. Now, somebody knows something that we don't know, because this is just too coincidental. So my whole take on it, it just seems like it was staged. It came into play like they planned it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, I think they do need to. A lot of people are saying that they don't need to impeach President Trump, but I understand that if they impeach him, he's not able to run for presidential office again in 2024.
Well, they have to. He can be impeached, but they have to actually remove him for him not to be able to run for office again. Is that correct?
No, he's impeached. So
But
that second impeachment precludes him from running for office forever. It doesn't need the Senate. It doesn't need the Senate.
So
he
why
cannot run right now.
So he's impeached and he
now.
cannot run. He cannot run, period.
He cannot run for office.
Okay.
Derek, is that because of the fact that he's been impeached twice, or is there something in the second article of impeachment that states that? Like, what is the actual reasoning behind that, or how are they able to determine that?
Yeah, because of the gravity of the second impeachment, and he was impeached twice. So even the founding fathers, they were like, listen, if somebody break the law, right? You know, they had pardoning power. They had all these things lined up. I don't think the early framers ever thought that you have a president do this. And so they wanted to make sure that, again, that's the reason why my opening statement, we're witnessing history right now. And to make sure that the precedence is done correctly, so that way those in the future, if they encounter another person like this guy, they know exactly how to deal with him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So now, Derek, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jennifer. Go ahead.
Derek, you were talking about how there were several congressmen or women that are supposedly involved in what happened. They were directly connected to it. Are you familiar with the freshman Democrat Lauren Boebert from Rifle, Colorado?
Yes.
So this particular congressman, I don't know if the rest of you guys have heard, she was inside of the Capitol when everything was going on, and once the lockdown occurred, she tweeted the location of the Speaker of the House while she was in there with her while they were on lockdown. Her first tweet says, "We were locked in the House chambers." Her second tweet said, "The Speaker has been removed from the chamber." Can anybody tell me why in the world a congresswoman is tweeting the location of the Speaker of the House when it's evident that there is a mob outside that are looking for her to cause her bodily harm? If that doesn't say conspiracy, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
They shouldn't
Listen,
anything.
Jennifer, Jennifer, you're raising another excellent point, and Alan alluded to it. You had some off-duty police officers that were assisting the mob, directing them which doors to go through, opening doors, showing their badge, right? Putting on the MAGA hat on, taking selfies. And so, again, an elected official, a police officer, anyone that raised their hand and give the oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, right?
Yep.
They broke that. And so because they broke their obligation and their duty and responsibility to the Constitution, then I would not be surprised that when it's all said and done, when we start dealing with all these citizens, because again, if they got a cell phone, we know that they were there. And so, and the congresswoman that tweeted out the speaker's location, they're all going to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz, Senator Hawley, they're all going to be dealt with because they enabled this, right? That because, you know, it's the old, and I'm no lawyer, but I can read. We can all read, and we all understand this, right? If you said, hey, well, let's go rob a bank, and you're just the person that is driving the automobile, the getaway automobile,
That's his guilty.
and you caught a flat tire, but the other people already got in the bank, they already robbed the bank, you weren't at the pickup stop where you're supposed to be, and then they drop your name and say, hey, John Doe was part of this, and they learned that John Doe didn't get there. John Doe had a flat tire. Guess what, John Doe?
You going
You can
down.
say, oh,
Well,
I wasn't there. I didn't pick him up. You know, no, that's not how this works. That's not how this works, right, Alan? This is not how it works.
You're right. You're exactly right. I've had multiple arrests like that. So, yeah,
I wasn't there.
And, you know,
right.
Yeah.
I just say ignorance is no excuse for the law.
it'd be left up to the courts, you know, to work that out. And, you know, after that, you know, folks miraculously, they start singing all these different tunes. And
Right.
I wasn't there, but I can tell you this, or I can tell you that in order to try to save their own selves. But
Right.
yeah, you're part of the group.
Let me say something right quick though. On a bigger picture, I think if we as a people don't open our eyes after this situation and take a lesson from it, learn from it, and come together and unite stronger, and realize that there's a distinct difference between how we're treated by police officers, by politicians, by just a lot of members of society, period. I think we really need to just really learn from this, because we're so divided even within our own race. And I don't mean to get off into, I don't want to deviate away from the topic, but I do want to make a point. It's really important after watching this and how they were treated as opposed to how we are treated. We really, really, really need to spend more energy and more time coming together and uniting as one, because they know who, and I'm not going to say all, but they recognize the enemy. But for some reason, we have a problem distinguishing who the enemy is. And again, I'm not saying it's all one race of people or anything like that, but it's clear cut and dry, and it's thrown in our faces every single day, whether it's in sports, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in politics, whatever. It's just continuously thrown in our face, and we really need to come to grips with reality. I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to get that off my chest. I hope you all didn't mind that.
well, Alan, that's actually the next question that we're gonna present. It's called what is the America we want to be?
Awesome.
That's that you just brought up the question without knowing what the question was. So you were on point.
Right.
Yeah, so
Good segue.
what is the America we want to be? Like you were saying, you know, we want to be treated equal.
Right.
You know, Black Lives Matter, and we were
Right.
treated away with that. I mean, they had all kind of,
Right.
security around you, that they were ready for us. But then you have the riots at the Capitol,
Right.
and it's really lackadaisy about that.
So
So
can I make one point?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. So what is the America that we want to be? Well, if we go to the whole thing, okay, America is built on capitalism, and money makes the world go round. But then when you look at Black folks and how we spend money annually, I want to say it's $1.3 trillion annually is what we pump in the community in society, and we're considered to be the largest consumers in the world, but we make up one of the smallest populations. That's a problem, and the reason that's a problem within itself is because the Asian dollar circulates within the Asian community. I think it's 31 days, and then the white community is 17 days, and the Jewish community is like 26 days. But in the Black community, it only circulates within the Black dollar only circulates within the Black community for a total of 6 hours. So it goes back to the question: what is the America? What is the America that we want to become?
Yeah.
Well, we want to be owners of Black-owned banks and Black-owned businesses that benefit the Black community. I'm not just basically referring to liquor stores and the mall shop, the Black Eyed Peas and neck bones and stuff that's killing us. We want to be the America that's empowered through financial economics.
Black corporate
And
America.
it starts with the dollar bill. We gotta basically learn the science of money and how it operates in order to empower us as a race of people. So I just wanted to say that.
But you know what, Alan, it's kind of hard. Well, for me anyway, from the experiences that I've gone through, it's hard to keep to stay in your Black community and spend your money there, because a lot of times you have like, say for instance, when I go to have my car and I take it to a Black business in the Black community, they take advantage of you. So you don't want to stay there where they're going to take advantage, or they're going to charge you more money than it's worth to get an oil change or to get tires changed or anything. And so you don't mind driving all the way out to Buckhead to get the service done because you think they're going to treat you better. So once they start treating you better, in the Black community, maybe you'll want to spend your money in the Black community. But I'm not saying that, bring your prices down. No, you're supposed to put your prices at what you think you're valued at, what you're worth. And if a person doesn't want to spend the money on it, then that's fine. They have to go somewhere else. But don't take advantage of a person. Don't take advantage of a person. And maybe they'll want to keep the money in the community. That's just my thought.
I agree with you. You make some good points. I think when it comes to customer service, I've had a huge issue with going to the Black community and patronizing the Black businesses. In terms of getting hit over the head, I've been shafted by all races, whether it's Asian, Blacks, or whites, when it comes to spending my money. So, the Black businesses, they have to jack the prices up because they can't buy in bulk like their other white counterparts or whatever. So there's different pieces to the puzzle, but I do agree with you saying. But I think that we can't just walk up to the elephant and just swallow the whole elephant at one time. We gotta chop it down into pieces and chew it one bite at a time. So let's say for Walmart, for example, they have less than, I think, 2% of minorities in top level management across the country. But yet and still, if you go to Walmart now, you see 98% of folks shopping in Walmart, even if you go to Alpharetta, So I think that if we just said, okay, this Walmart, we're not gonna patronize, we're not gonna come in this store, whether we're Hispanic, Black, we're not gonna even shop there for this week. We're gonna show you how our dollar is valued and how important it is and how strong it is. So then that Walmart It's just like the boycott in Alabama when Black folks didn't ride the buses for 18 months. You know, they walked to work, they rode bicycles or whatever. And Nixon got on the phone and called Martin Luther King. And he said, man, please, whatever you do, get your people on the bus. They can ride anywhere they want. And 3 months later, Black men was driving the bus. So it goes back to the power of the dollar bill. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead. I don't want to take the floor.
No, you're good.
Yeah, but I think if you expand it out though, Alan, because I don't disagree, but if you expand the aperture out, there are some structural differences between a Black community and others communities, right? And so if the goods, products, and services are not available in Black communities, then they have to leave their community. Their dollar have to follow where those goods and products and services are available. And so if we, from a government standpoint, look at economic development and say every community, again, going back to the preamble, that's why I wanted my particular portion of the Constitution is the preamble. We should look at the quality of life for everyone, right? And so that means public transportation should be available for everyone. Public education should be available with a quality, regardless of zip code. Healthcare should be available in every city, regardless which side of the railroad track you were born, right? And so if we don't look at some of the structural challenges in all communities, because not all communities are created equal, right? If you like Whole Foods, I'm just using that as an example. If you love shop at Whole Foods, but if you live in a community where there's a food desert, right, just a convenience store, have high sodium type canned goods and products, well, guess what that community going to look like 10, 15, 20 years eating, high saturated fats and sodium. They don't have access to a Whole Foods where more quality type of produce are available. And so that's what we have to look at is what are these structural challenges in every community and knock those barriers down.
Right.
I absolutely agree with the economic perspective of what you guys are saying as far as what type of America we want to see. I just want to address it from a different perspective. I saw something on social media that said that we don't want them to be shot the way that they shoot us. We just don't want them to shoot us the way they don't shoot them, if that makes sense. In other words, we want to be able to go jogging. We want to be able to sleep in our bed. We want to be able to go out and grab a bag of Skittles without worrying about whether or not we're going to wake up the next morning, whether or not we're going to make it home from our job, whether or not we're going to make it home from the store. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that equality. There was an attorney, I saw a story online. I can't remember what state he was from, but because of everything that's going on, obviously the courts are not doing as much as they're doing. So he's not in the courthouse as much. And he, one particular day he was off, but he needed to go to the court to change a date for something. And so he did not have on a suit. He had on like some jeans or something. He goes into the courthouse. He tries to speak to the bailiff and they automatically tell him, you need to step back. You need to go back and do, to another area. And they said, only attorneys are allowed to cross this line. He said, well, I'm an attorney. He tried to reach into his pocket to pull out his identification to show that he was an attorney. And all of these, bailiffs started to come towards him like, you need to back up, you need to get out. And he's trying to tell them, I am an attorney. Like, I'm letting you guys know. And so they back him out of the room. They try to take him into another room. And they just start, basically harassing him. And he's like, listen, you guys are wrong here. I'm going to come after you with everything that I learned in law school because you're not, treating me fairly. They tased him, handcuffed him, put him into a holding area. He was charged, convicted, and sentenced, all because he tried to go into the courtroom with no suit on. Black man tried to go into a courtroom with no suit on, and nobody believed he was an attorney. These are the type of problems that we're having. This is the type of America that we don't want. Can we walk into a courtroom as African Americans and not be assumed that we're the criminal in the room? That's the type of America that we don't want. We want to be able to go places and it not be assumed that we're an aggressor, that we're going to harm someone, that we're going to, cause some type of chaos. That's the America that we don't want. So I just wanted to
That's
point that
racial.
out.
He was judged based on what he looked like. He didn't look
And
like.
the jury convicted him, and then one of the jurors came back and wrote a letter to the judge basically saying, I did not agree with the sentencing that was given. I did not agree with the judgment that was given. This guy should not have been convicted. I mean, come on, guys, really?
They
No,
said
I'm-
in the beginning.
I'm sure, I know all that had to have come out during the trial, in discovery,
And yes,
presenting evidence,
He
eyewitness
didn't have any
accounts.
friends, attorney friends who knew him that worked with him in that courthouse.
I don't know the full scope of the story. I just know that he was convicted of, I think it may have been something like resisting arrest and just some other things that they just kind of like piled on there. And it's just like, and they showed the video of him in the courthouse when he walked in, tried to talk to the bailiff. They pointed him away. Then he tried to, reach into his pocket, show the identification. And then the other ones came to him and they kind of like forced him out of the room. So there is a video showing what happened. And there is some audio that's, attached to it as well. And for some reason, he was still convicted. I said all of that to say that if we can't even get to that point, I understand the economic perspective of things, and that makes perfect sense. But we just want to be able to live from day to day. We just want to be able to go about our lives, do our jobs, go to our schools, raise our kids, and not have this fear lingering over us. Like, if I go outside right now, if I drive to a different zone of the city, if I go to a different county, am I going to make it back home tonight? Or is my family going to be on the news asking why him? Am I going to be another hashtag? Why her? Are they going to be another hashtag? So
I wonder if I'm going to be politically correct when I say this, but I wonder if white parents think that when their children go out for the day, do they worry about, is my Johnny going to come back home tonight? Is he going to be harassed by the police? Or
why would they?
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, they don't know what we're going through. When our children leave the house, it's like, I'm worried until they get back. So I'm like, I mean, do they even think like that? Do they even know?
I believe they do know. There have been enough stories. We've done so much storytelling in these
But they
United
just don't
States.
care.
Right.
Well, it's a difference between not caring and not knowing. They know.
Right.
They're
And I'm gonna tell you how they know. There was a video of a white guy being arrested. I think it was at the airport, an airport somewhere. And they had him on the ground. It was maybe 2 or 3 officers, and they were kneeling on his neck. And as they were kneeling on his neck, he was making the comment, "You're treating me like you treat Black people."
I remember seeing that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They know what's going on.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah.
So,
They know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect them, so they could care less. That's my opinion.
Right. And then I'm sure you guys heard about the 22-year-old white female who accused a 14-year-old Black male of stealing her cell phone.
Yeah.
When they arrested her, when they tried to arrest her in, I think in Los Angeles,
Yes.
she wouldn't stop. She drove all the way home. And then they had to forcibly take her out of the car. Now,
Right.
had this Black person, they would have did a pit maneuver. They would have shot the car. They would have shot the tires. They would have did everything to make sure you were going to stop where they stopped you at. You weren't going home. But she was able to drive all the way home.
and
That
did you see
happened
her
last
interview with
week,
Gayle
right?
King afterwards?
I'm sorry? What did you say,
Did you
Jen?
see her interview with Gayle King?
Oh, yeah, I saw when she gave her the hand. She said, "That's enough."
Enough.
Wait
Yeah.
a minute. What happened? I'm sorry, I missed that. She gave who the hand?
She was interviewed by Gayle King, and Gayle basically was saying that she knew what she was doing was wrong. She's an adult. She's 22 years old, and she keeps referring to herself as a girl. But the young man that she assaulted, or the person that she assaulted, was a 14-year-old boy, but she refers to him as a man. So she's got things twisted here. He's
Okay.
the child, she's the adult, she's the aggressor, but she's making it seem like she's the victim. Gayle basically said, you know what you did was wrong. You're 22 years old, you know better. She said, Gail, enough.
Gave her the hand.
That's what she said to Gail.
That's what
Yeah.
she said to Gail during the interview. When Gail was making her of the fact that you are 22 years old, you
should
know
know.
what you were doing was wrong. You should have known better. Take responsibility for your actions. Her response was, Gail, enough. And the lady saying that to her attorney was like,
Her attorney looked at her like,
Stop.
did you do that? But her attorney
yeah, she was like, stop it.
prepared her and told her, how to act and what to do. But she just did whatever she wanted to do at 22 years old. That's called privilege.
That's what they're accustomed to.
It's called privilege. Yeah. It's
That's
like,
what
I'm
they're
gonna
accustomed to.
do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Wow.
But really quickly, I just want to touch on one of the other amendments. I know we were previously thinking about the 25th. I wanted to ask a question, and this is probably going to be geared to you, Derek. The 6th Amendment, the one that basically refers to, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. Impartial jury. How do you get an impartial jury for these people in this situation in the District of Columbia, anywhere in the United States for that matter, after what's going on? Like, how is this situation going? I know you're not an attorney, but do you have any type of insight as to what they would be doing, during that process to get these people an impartial jury?
Yeah, I don't. That's an excellent question right there, Jennifer, because I don't know how you get an impartial jury, because you're going to find the jurisdiction is the capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so already some individuals are lowering up because they have the money. They were on the television the other night before last, where they already lowered, they got so many lawyers on top of lawyers to simply say, well, this is my client first offense. It should, minimum punishment should be a misdemeanor. No. This is a federal offense.
Years. They don't want to hear that.
Right. And there's one, then you have some folks going as far as this one Georgian, right here in Georgia, banker, I believe, is a banker, but he took his life.
Mm-hmm.
53 years young, family, a wife, 2 children, and after he was charged, the embarrassment on his family's name was so heavy that he took a gun and shot himself in the chest, right? So I Jennifer, to find an impartial, it's written that way, but there's and both sides, right? The defense as well as the prosecutor, they go through all the names. They get you by your driver license. I suggest to any citizen in Georgia that if you're called for jury duty, go.
Yeah.
Right. But it's going to be hard because pretty much 99% of those who did this are Republicans and white. So I don't know what an impartial jury looked like for someone that took a private jet from wherever they were from, decided to go there with some zip ties to try to hog tie up members of Congress.
Wow.
I'm just really curious to see how these folks that were not directly there, but had a part in that, are going to be dealt with, because you've got people like Rudy Giuliani saying trial by combat. Mm-hmm. You've got the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, paying for buses of people to be sent out to these places. Like, I'm just curious to see how all of this is going to unfold, because it's
you know what, Jen, I think what's going to be interesting is to see, because I think these are federal charges, aren't they, Jack?
Yes.
Have to be.
So it's going to be interesting to see what these federal judges that were appointed by Trump, should these cases get assigned to them, what direction they go in. I mean,
See the interview. Go
Say it
ahead,
again.
Eric. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
now I was gonna say at this point, they're in there for life, for as long as they choose to stay. But at the same time, judges all around this country, Republican and Democrat, appointed by various individuals, various presidents, have went a particular direction on a decision that others didn't think they'd go in. Like these with the voting and all these cases that were getting denied. I mean, there wasn't any evidence that there was any widespread fraud as it relates to the vote. But of course, that's not what the president had hoped for. But so, because there were individuals that he's appointed to the seat, to the bench, that he thought were going to roll his way just because he got them that position, that went by the letter of the law and made the appropriate judgment.
Even if somehow Trump himself is able to escape any type of prosecution from this, and why he would, oh my gosh, I don't know. But even if he's able to, just the fallout from everything that's going on, like, I don't know if you guys read that New York City has canceled their contract with the Trump organization. They're not even having any more dealings with him. All of these companies that are taking away their money for, political donations and all of those things.
Yeah.
And just the people who are, turning their back, finally recognizing who this person is and what this person is capable of. It's like, it's January 13th of 2020. We're 13 days into the year, guys.
You got to keep in mind, Jen, that and I'm nowhere close to being inside Trump's head. Trust me on this one. But he's being advised that once he leaves that office come January 20th, beginning on January 21st, he is going to be faced with so many criminal and civil cases, right? I mean, the Southern District of New York, the Attorney General of New York, Virginia. I mean, when you don't show responsibility, when you don't demonstrate that you have the capacity of telling the truth, I think he's going to end up going to jail because of his taxes. I'm no lawyer. To our point of view, this is my point of view to our audience. But if you can read, my mother, bless her soul, said reading is fundamental. If you can read every major white collar crime ended up in taxes, right? Mob boss, whatever. And it's been stressed going back a few months, Jen, to your other question. I think when he keeps opening up his mouth and he said, "Oh, I'm not $400 million in debt. I'm about $1 billion in debt. I know how to." Whoa, what?
They listening.
So who do you owe? And then he started talking about accounts offshore. Whoa, right? So all these red flags, right? And so I think his legal team, or whatever's left of his legal team, they're going to have problems come January 21st. But to answer your other question, going back to you, Jacqueline, I just took the liberty while you all were talking to look it up. Section 3, and this is for our point of view audience. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, in theory, gives Congress the authority to bar public officials who specifically took an oath of allegiance to the United States Constitution from holding office if they engage in insurrection or rebellion against the Constitution and therefore broke their oath.
Wow, yep.
Now, this goes back to what I mentioned earlier, and I didn't even read this. Again, I'm no lawyer, but I can read. And it says right here, but the provision has rarely been used or tested, Alan. And so we're setting a precedent. And then it goes on to say, so there are some scholars who are, trying to figure this out.
Right.
About exactly how Congress can exercise this authority under this provision and to that end. So, but hey, he's been impeached not once but twice. They used it. It's in writing.
Yep.
General, I'm sure they had counsel to look this thing over and over and over again. But that's why the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, used part of the 14th Amendment in this new impeachment article because they don't want someone that tries to overthrow the government that they're supposed to be leading
Right.
to ever run for office again.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so let's ask this last question. How do we start to heal? Is that possible?
Oh, it's possible. It's possible.
It's possible.
And it is possible.
Will it start now, or is there a lot of frustration, built up frustration in us that we want to get out, that we want revenge? I mean, can we just put all that aside and just say, okay, let's heal. It's 2021.
I heard something very important today. And in answering that question, you said the time to heal is now. And the pathway to healing is justice, is being held accountable, is
Right.
making some degree or some sort of amends with what's happened.
Mhm.
So, because we need to be able to get past it. It doesn't need to be a hanging chad. It doesn't need to be something that is the proverbial monkey on our back as a society, as a nation. But we need to be able to address it, deal with it, get past it, so we can move forward. We've got a lot to do.
Right.
This is a hurting nation. It's a hurting globe because of a lot. What happens in these United States has implications all around the world.
Right.
So it's important that we fix ourselves. Not that we're doing it for Iceland or Australia or anybody else, but it's important that we fix ourselves and allow ourselves to start healing, talking, being able to get along with one another, just basic stuff, talking to one another with respect and being able to work with one another, not being prejudiced. I mean, really, we still got folks here that are grabbing their handbags when we walk by them. Come on, they're locking doors, and all that rigmarole. We need to be able to get past that, and be about the business of being united in these states.
Right.
So, I hear you, Eric, and I agree with you. But to me, healing is hard when you can't trust a certain entity or a certain group, or it's just like if I'm in a marriage and my wife has lied to me and cheated on me time after time and time after time.
Right.
At some point, I'm going to have a problem healing.
Oh, yeah.
And we constantly see injustices all the time. We always see them get the slap on the wrist, but we get the beating, the lashes on the back.
Right.
So I'm not saying that it's impossible to heal, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge because we constantly see this lady got a slap on the wrist. They were sending their kids to colleges and they were cheating. Yeah. Would she get a couple of months and then went home or something like that?
And she was able to pick the facility that she served her time.
and has already got a job waiting for her.
So here again, we know had she been black, we already know. We can go, we're not even gonna have that conversation. So I'm just saying that it's just so hard to heal, and this is maybe, I try to be a realist and not try to be negative, but it's just so hard to heal when we, even these people who went to the Capitol, I'm willing to bet you any amount of money that a lot of these people get a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Instead of getting what they really deserve or what they earn. You see what I'm saying? So then we got to learn to heal from that. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't mean to sound negative, but it just seemed like it's the way of the world.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You know, I'm with you, Eric, Alan, and I acknowledge Eric's point. I'm optimistic. But I'm also a realist. I mean, the healing starts when we start to see folks take accountability and being held responsible. Right. I mean, keep in mind, they took a hanging noose.
That's right.
To the Capitol. I mean, can you imagine the image? A hanging noose.
Like they were going to do it there.
And saying that they're going to take Vice President Pence out.
And someone said they were going to put a bullet in Nancy Pelosi's head.
Right.
Right. So can we get to that destination? I think the journey is still long because this hatred was well before Trump. He just ripped the Band-Aid off and stuck his head in the alligator's mouth, right?
Right.
You don't stick your head inside the alligator's mouth and expect not to get consumed. And so I'm optimistic. I think we can get there, but it's going to require so much. You mentioned trust, Alan, but there's another word that's hard for a lot of us, and that's forgiveness, right? Because we continue to see a justice system that says there's two worlds.
Right.
And that's the reason why I keep coming back to the preamble of the Constitution. It didn't say this is a constitution for Black people, constitution for Asians, constitution for Hispanics. No, it says we the people.
Right.
All citizens, all Americans. But until we start to see that we're not looked at as 3/5 of a person, when we're not profiled, when we don't see the barriers in our community, when we see a Whole Foods and all the goods and products and services, and y'all probably saying, well, why Derek is on Whole Foods? I want a Whole Foods in my neighborhood.
That's right.
That's right.
Right. That's right.
But until we start seeing these things in our neighborhood, then we can do exactly what Alan was talking about, the circulation of our dollar. We all work hard. We all pay our taxes. We can't say, for 30 years, my taxes are under audit. Really? Can you imagine if Barack Obama, and that's why our point of view, we didn't do a comparison tonight. Everybody has already done that. What if this was Black Lives Matter? What if they were Black? What if no. Can we just have a system that's equal and fit and right for all Americans? If we're going to live up to the true creed of the United States Constitution, right? That all citizens should have a right to this tranquility that this Constitution is talking about, should have the right to equal justice. All right? So can we get there? Sure. When? It's
going to take a while.
How long? Our pastor used to say, how long? I don't know how long, Jim.
I agree with you, Elle, about the trust, and I agree with you, State Rep, about the forgiveness.
Right.
When you have a Black man who's at the mall in the food court with his family, just trying to enjoy the day, and you have police coming in, arresting him, saying, "Oh, you fit the profile of a black man with dreadlocks that
Right.
was, you know,
yeah.
that they said stole a car or whatever they said that he did."
Mhm.
How
Right.
are you supposed to feel because you look like somebody that they said committed a crime, and now you're in handcuffs in the middle of the mall in front of your kids? Where's the trust
In front of
there?
your kids.
I don't trust you because I can't go, you know, out and enjoy time with my family without you coming and harassing me. And, you know, then you've got all of these Black people in prison for something as minor as selling or as possessing some marijuana. But most of these people that were in this Capitol insurrection probably won't see a day in jail. You know, you've got this modern day slavery. We need prison reform. That is just a given. And yet you want us to feel like, oh, well, we should just get over what happened 400 years ago. Just, why can't you just move on? Why can't you just, really? And that's the forgiveness issue that we can't get to. It's like, you're still doing it. How are we going to forgive you for something you're still doing? We're still in slavery. What do you mean?
Right.
So-
And it goes back to what State Rep Derek was saying, accountability. If you hold these people accountability, maybe I can start having a healing heart.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But until you hold them accountable for their actions, then it's just the healing is going to take longer and longer and longer and longer.
Right.
So,
Well, guys, we are going to have to wrap this up now, but we'll continue it next week because next week is the inauguration. So we're going to continue this this conversation next week. But I want to thank Al Allen for joining us. Appreciate you being here. And thank you guys for coming out, hanging out with us and all. Remember, tomorrow I'm going to do an episode of Our Point of View Up Close and Personal. I'm going to have Dr. Daquisha Sheaver. She's going to be on. She's going to be talking about a book that she just wrote. So remember, guys, everything you heard and everything we said was our point of view. We'll see you next week. Be safe out there. Mask up.